most important points that I failed to mention, this elbow has to stay bent, right? If his arm's straight, it's really hard to get it to belt to go over. So this elbow has to really be bent. This is off of a gi move and a judo move off the gi. So if he's holding my lapel, I'll break the grip and I'll pull his arm across and go under his lapel like this. And now my elbow's above his. So I'm using his lapel for this anchor. And this is a fulcrum point, and I throw it with that. Right. So that's it's a modification off of a gi move. And with the gi, his elbow's always going to be bent. Without the gi, I have to make sure that I'm keeping this elbow bent. That's why I pull it in tight like this. And he's able to straighten his arm if you get that shoulder up, like get taller than me. That's why I'm going to be hanging on it like this. And now his elbow's nice and bent, right? One of the first reactions you're gonna see this. It happens to me a lot. Now, by the way, and I compete a lot, and I'm actually hitting this a lot in black belt competition, which getting good throws in other black belts is tough. You always got to change them up and do tricky things. This is one that recently has been working for me. But one of the first reactions I'm getting is I'm tearing the arm off here, and I'm pulling the guy in, and as I'm pulling him in, he's pushing my face away to create distance. Right, so he's me away because he knows that I need to be close to him inside. Right, so the natural reaction here is to just abort and do something else. We have a really good opportunity right now. So he's overextended with this arm by pushing my face away or my shoulder. Right, so I'm just going to take this arm and I'm going to throw it up into his other arm, but I want to be between his elbow and shoulder. I don't want to throw it right here. I want to throw it here. I'm going to throw it up right here, and I'm going to drop for a double leg. So for those who don't know a double leg, I'm going to push forward with this back leg. This foot's going to penetrate. I'm going to drop, but in this position, I don't need to do a full drop step. I'm just going to lower myself. I'm going to come in here, and as I step, I'm going to lift, and my head's going to go this way, and his leg's going to go this way. So, if you've been training for a little while, a full drop step is, coming all the way down here. But the reason you're doing that, if you know anything about wrestling, the reason you're doing that is because if you were in the sport of wrestling, everybody's down here. So I have to really shoot nice and low, come in. In this case, he's really tall, so I don't have to do that big drop. I'm really just making it inefficient if I drop all the way down. So I'm just stepping right inside, hitting, my head's going this way, and my arms are going this way. Now, a really important thing, if you hadn't wrestled before to know, is that the closer my head and hands are together, the harder it is to throw in. The further my head and arms are apart, the easier it is to throw in. That makes sense? It's kind of like geometry thing, I guess. Geometry is the right thing, but right? So, because a lot of people get in here, they try to, it's a lot of strength, and it gives them time, right, to be able to deal with this. But if my arms are far apart, my head's up high, now the fulcrum's like so much further apart, it makes it super easy to throw it, right? Another thing is that if I'm out like here, it's really hard to lift him up. He's bigger than me, right? But if I'm underneath here, it becomes really light to lift, right? So it becomes easy to lift him. So make sure your butt's under your shoulders, and you've got to lift a lot. And this is the last little detail I'd like to give is this little step forward. Makes him super light. So when I go forward like this, hit him, it makes him really light. I do what's called a blast elbow a lot. Usually when I'm here, I just boom. That move forward, just takes it off the seat. So give that good pressure forward. It should be like not like a push. It should be an impact on him. So here we go again. I'll tie it all together. Here, he pushes me away. I'm going to push it up. I'm over flaring his legs out. And the reason I am, is I hate being stuck in guys' guards, especially like this guy. I've been in his guard before. Usually it winds up getting filled up. So I don't want to end up in his guard. That's why I love side control. I love north south. I want to get right there. I want my takedown to be not just taking him down, but passing his guard. So I really want to throw his legs out. The further the head and legs are apart, head and arms are apart, the easier it's going to be to turn him. Right? One more time. Ooh, right here. He's pushing me away. Here. step. Here, this leg's gonna side control. Now I can do everything I want to do without having to deal with that.
Sir.
One more time at full speed.
Hey.
Got it?
Sir.
1, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's a fireman's carry. It's one of my favorite takedowns, and I hit it quite a bit. I think probably just being sharp. I hit it quite a bit. A pretty high percentage with it. So one of the things with the firemen's that I like to do is I like to come inside, pummel inside here, and trap this arm just like this. So even if he pummels on the other side, I don't really care. This is the side I'm gonna fireman's on. I want to be hugging this arm, and I like to sag on him like this. Usually the opposite leg is more likely he's gonna be right-handed, not right-handed. So usually the opposite leg's gonna be back. So we're gonna put it back. That's what I'm gonna typically run into, unless we're opposite sides. Like I'm right-handed, he's left-handed, or vice versa, which is pretty uncommon, but it could happen. But most of the time, the leg's gonna be away, which makes it harder for me. If it's the other way, then it's easier, right? It makes it a lot easier. So from here, I want to be able to step back with this far leg and replace his leg with that. So I'm gonna step back, and I'm just gonna make that leg step forward. I'm gonna pull with this at the same time, right? So that's gonna bring that leg forward for me. I'm gonna pull his head down, and he's gonna feel a posture back up. Right? He'll want to posture back up, and that's gonna be my window to slide this hand off. I'm gonna drop to my knee, and I set in. When I set in for the fireman's carry, I really want to pull this arm down and have good posture with my head. That's one of the most important things. Most people are lazy with their head, and the guy either rolls over the front, or he's able to keep his balance because of it. Right? So I want good posture with my head. This hand is gonna, like I'm racking into his goodies right here, like this. Right? I don't want to just set it there. I actually want to have some momentum with my arm. And I'm going to pull down with this arm, and I tuck this leg under me. Right, so I come here, right, so that's the fireman's. Everybody does the fireman's a little different, so if it did a little different, you learn. And since I'm teaching tonight, just try it this way. Because I do the same. If I have something I've done a long time, somebody shows it different, I want to try it their way.
Sir.
So here, look inside. I'm going to pummel. Right, I'm going to pummel straight up the middle. And capture that arm. I hang, notice what I did with my head. Right away, I hung on it. I get heavy on this arm. Right? So it's not just pummeling inside. It's boom, like this. Right? Because he's going to try to pummel back inside. Right? This makes it really hard for him to do that. I want to own that side. Right? His head's pulled in tight. I'm going to step back with my foot and drag his foot in place. Here, I pull his head down. When I feel him pulling it back up, I'm going to slide it off. And I drop in deep, pulling down and going up at the same time, making sure I have good posture with my head. Ton of setups for it. I like the single leg a lot. My wrestling coach, my professional MMA fighting career, always just hard to single leg. It's really good off the cage for MMA fighters. And so I tie it to my firemen's because everyone knows I do the firemen's. I mean, I just competed last week, and a guy said he basically studied fireman's defense every day for the last 3 months to try to stop my fireman. So everyone knows I do it. So when you get this high up position again, remember we were in here, we came in, he sagged inside here, I got his foot leg forward, but I can kind of feel when somebody's like defiant to get taken out. I can kind of feel when he's not going to be really hard. The fireman's usually I can just feel like if I go underneath, I'm going to get swallowed on. I just kind of know. When the fireman happens for me, it's like flawless. I know that the guy's, like I'm underneath him, he's already going over.
Sir.
But I know like when I'm gonna have trouble doing it. So when I feel like I just don't want to pull the trigger because he's gonna sprawl me, what I'll do is I'll pretend I'm gonna go for it, I pull that leg forward, and I reach, instead of squatting, I reach that leg, I tap inside, and then I go back. So when he goes back on that leg, he exposes this one. So I'm just gonna shift, side step over, and I come around the side, and I pull this leg up. Right? And so it's super available because he's so committed to getting that leg back. I don't know how you guys have learned single legs before, but this is the way I do it. When I pull this up, I'm behind his knee with this gable grip, pulling his knee and I'm pinching his leg like this. The first thing he should be doing is whizzering me and getting his leg out, right? And so by having this tight, it makes it hard to whizzer. By pinching my legs, it makes it hard for him to get his leg out. So those two things go against the two things he's gonna do right away. That's like just super fundamental for me. It should be like muscle memory for him to do whizzer and get his leg out. It should be muscle memory for me to be in tight, closing this whizzer gap, and pinching my leg so he can't get his leg out. Sure. Once I'm in here tight, a big deal for me is a lot of people just kind of have their head on the hip. I want to bring my shoulder up. A little bit of difference in the shoulder is going to make all the difference in your single leg. So my shoulder shrugs and goes on top of his thigh. And once I have that shoulder pressure pushing down, I'm going to open my legs and just do a side step and just bow into him. That pressure is almost impossible to stop. Head goes down, back step over.
Sure.
The difference in that shoulder, when you practice, when you're playing around with it, call me over, I'll come let you feel what it feels like. That shoulder pressure is all the difference in the world. Most people I see teach the single, a lot of people teach this, which is not incorrect, but most people have you just pushing here, and that shoulder's out, and now I'm having to put all this pressure, but getting that shoulder is like a huge wedge right here. Just don't swing him. Everybody tries to swing the first one. Just one little quick step right here. And then head down, back step, and whatever side control you want. So,
sure.
Yep.
So the motion is down and not around?
Yeah, so we're like, I like to teach you on this line. So I pinch here, pulling it tight, that shoulder pressure is here. I'm gonna make a 90-degree turn. So I'm gonna step out and just push that pressure down, just like that. That's how much you move. What you'll see most people doing is they'll start swinging the person, and the guy's hopping on the slip and swinging around. So it's just like corkscrewing. It's called running the pipe. That's what in wrestling, that's what it's called, running the pipe. Sure. So I'm just 90-degree turn. Pressure, and I'm gonna open my legs for that brief moment, then I'm gonna drive down and do this 90-degree turn. Like that. And my head goes down, step over, inside control. If you wanna practice on the line, that's what you gotta do. Pinch, pressure. So, all the way from the beginning, you're gonna get going this here, this step, boom. I know, I just feel it. I'm not gonna be able to get it, so I'm gonna reach inside, tap that leg, he's gonna go back. Right here. Catch him behind the knee, not up here. Right behind the knee, I'm gonna pull it up and catch. Right here. Work that shoulder on top, and then look at my feet. I'm on that line. I'm gonna do 90 degrees and put that shoulder pressure down. Here. Definitely, if you're not feeling it, call me over. I want you to feel that shoulder pressure. That's what. If you learn anything tonight from the single, that's the biggest thing for me. Sure. 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, I'm in here and I'm trying to hit my fireman's, and I'm like, man, I feel like if I shoot for my fireman's, he's gonna sprawl me. So I pull and I tap, and he doesn't react. He doesn't step back. I don't want to go for a single on this because he's pretty squared up to me. I could, but it's not going to be as effective, right? So if he didn't react, what should I do? Well, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to shoot the fireman because he's not responding to it, and that's what I wanted in the first place. So I'm like, oh, he didn't respond to it? Fine, I'll go and move again and hit my fireman's, right? So, I mean, this tap is just seeing what he's going to do. If he steps back on it, you know, boom, he steps back, that's when I hit my single. But if he just stays there, do what you wanted to do originally. But for me, I love it. We're just peeling the head off with a shoulder shrug. Here, pulling in tight, get that wrist control. Second one, we hit it, he pushes me away. Third one, come inside. Fireman's.